Hello everyone. Welcome to our next video lecture in the series of microprocessors and microcontrollers. In today's lecture, students will be learning about three major concepts in 8386, which is arrays, procedures, and your macros. We'll see what are these concepts and how you are going to implement this concept using your assembly language programming and your NASM assembler. So first let's start with arrays. So as you all know students, array is a data structure or a data type which is nothing but a collection of multiple items. And these multiple items are of similar types. That means the type of each element in this array data structure is the same. It is a collection of similar items. These items in your array, they are stored as a contiguous block of memory in your storage, which means they are stored in a sequential manner, one next to the another, in a contiguous memory fashion in your storage space. Now your array and the size of the array can start from 1 and it can go to n. Each item in your array, it has an index at which it is placed, a unique number associated with each item. The first item in your array will have index 0. Okay, and the last item in your array will have index n minus 1. So if consider the size of the array is 5, then it will have items which will start from index 0, index 1, index 2, index 3 and index 4. So this is how your array is structured and how your array items are indexed in your processors. Now students, we have seen earlier how we can define data in your microprocessor 8386. Like for example, here you can see this is the first way in which you can define any variable. You give the name of the variable. Here I have given it as age. After that we give the directive which will tell us what is the size of that particular variable. Here it is DW, means it is of word size, that is 16 bits. And the third variable is an initializing value which you want to associate with that particular variable, which is 12. Similarly, we can also define variable in hexadecimal format and in binary format. So in first way, this is how we can define variable in decimal format. Second way is how we can define these variables in your hexadecimal format. And third variant is how you can define variables in your binary format. So these are the three standard ways in which you can define your variables in your NASM programmer. Now these directives and these definements, they can also use to define and declare arrays, which are one-dimensional arrays. So how you can define an array or how you can declare an array? There are multiple ways in which you can declare an array. So as you can see the example over here, this shows the first way in which you can define an array in your 8386 microprocessor. So first give the name of the array. Here it is a user defined name which I have given as age. After that give the directive associated to that particular array variable, means the size of each item. Here it is DW, means the data is of word size 16 bits. And after that give the content of each item in an array. As you can see, we have 6 items in our array and each item is of double digit. So what will be the size of our array? See, to store a digit in your 8386 microprocessor, to store a double digit in your 8386 microprocessor, we require 2 bytes. One byte is used to store one number and another byte is used to store another number in that particular digit. Like consider the first item 24 over here. 2 will be saved in one byte, that is first 8 bits, and 4 will be saved in another byte which is another 8 bit. Total it becomes 16 bits. So similarly, we require 2 bytes for each of these array. These are 6 items. 6 into 2, we will require 12 bytes to store this particular array. The size of this array age is nothing but 12 bytes. How we have calculated that it is 12 bytes? It contains 6 items. Each item is of 2 digits. So to save one digit, we require 1 byte. So to save this one double digit, we require 2 bytes. 2 into 6 becomes 12 bytes. So here to save this particular array, we require 12 bytes of storage space. So students, this is one way in which you can declare or define an array. Let's see another ways in which you can define the same. So consider this example. So in first situation, what we have done is we have defined an array which is named salary, and we have defined 8 items in that array, and each item is primarily initialized to 0. So this is one way in which you can define the same array. To make it short or to abbreviate it, we can go to the second fashion which we have seen earlier. So we have defined the array in one line itself, where we have given the name of the array salary and then defined 8 items in your array and each starting with the 0. The third fashion is even abbreviating the definition of your array. So here we have used the name of the array, which is user defined salary, and since we need to define 8 items, we have used the times function, which will create 8 instances and will define or initialize 0 to those 8 instances. So in this statement, an array will be created and 8 items in that array will be created, which will be initialized to 0. All 8 items will be initialized to 0. So these are the 3 ways in which you can define your array in your assembly language programming. Now students, let's go ahead and we'll see how we can implement your array in your NASM using an example. So students, this is a simple program in which we'll try to understand and define an array, and we'll try to create the sum of all the items in that array. So as you can see in your data section over here, section.data, I have defined a variable x. I have defined the directive which is db, specifying the byte variable, and then I have defined the items in that array, which is 2, 3, 4. So these are the 3 items which I have stored in an array x. So since these are single digit variable, it will contain 3 bytes to store this particular array. The size of this array is just 3 bytes because it is saving 3 items in that particular array. And we need to calculate the sum of all the items in this array. So to calculate the sum, I have defined a sum variable and I have initialized it to 0, okay, as its initial value. Now let's see how we can calculate the sum of all the 3 items in that array. So let's jump to our text section, which is the code section. So in code section, the first statement is to move the number of bytes in your EAX register, which is accumulator. So over here, since we use 3 bytes to store that array, we are storing these 3 bytes in your EAX register. We are taking EBX register to store the sum, and initially the sum is given as 0. And we define another register which is ECX, which will point to the current element in your array. So the current element is defined by the name of array, which is X. Whenever the array is introduced, the first item, it is recognized as the array name. Like for example, here the array is X. So the first item will be X. Next item will be X plus 1 and so on. So over here, this X determines the current item. And the current item, it is saved in the ECX register. In your next label, which is top label, we are performing the summation, which is simple to understand. So first we are using the sub function to convert the ASCII value in the decimal. After that, we are performing the summation over your EBX and your ECX variable. EBX is your current sum where the sum is saved, and ECX is the content of your current array variable. So the current array item, the data of current array item and EBX is summed together to calculate the final sum using the add function. After that, what we are going to do is we are going to increment the ECX register to 1 so that we can move to the next item in that array. So when we add ECX 1 to ECX register, what it will do, it will basically shift or move to the next item in your array. In next statement, we are decrementing the EAX register which contains the bytes allocated to that particular sum. So here we have executed the summation of 1 byte and hence we are decrementing EAX register. So it will become 2. So from 3 it will become 2. Then it will check if it is 0 or not equal to 0. And if it is not equal to 0, it will jump to again top label. So again the control will be given over here. Now here the same iteration will be performed for the second item in your array. Again it will be converted to 0 your EBX content. Then your current ECX content will be added with your current EBX content. After that we increment your ECX register so that it can move to the next item which is the third item in your array. And finally we decrement the counter in your EAX register. So for this iteration it was 2. Now after executing your decrement statement it will become 1. Again it checks for your non-zero function and condition. So if the value is non-zero it again jumps to the top. So then we enter in our last iteration. In last iteration again we convert it into decimal. We add the current item in your ECX register, the current item of your array, that is the third item. We add it with your EBX, that is the sum variable. After that we increment the ECX to 1, that means the array will move to the next item, and then we decrement your EAX register. So here it checks if it is 0 or if it is not equal to 0. Now since we have decremented EAX, it becomes to 0 because this was our third iteration. So this condition is false and thus it does not jump to the top label. It goes to the next label which is done. So over here using add EBX, 0, we are converting the decimal into ASCII and our final sum was in EBX register, right? So we are saving it or moving it in your sum variable. So successfully we have calculated the sum of all the three items in an array and saved it in your sum variable. And using the display label, we are basically printing the sum variable to the user. This we have already covered. So this is how you can define an array and then perform summation in an array. I will just execute this tutorial to show you the output. So let's go ahead and compile your program. So as you can see students, we have successfully retrieved the final output which is summation of items in your array. Now let's move ahead and we'll cover the next concept which is procedures in your 8386 microprocessors. Alright students, so let's learn now how the procedures are implemented in your 8386 using NISM assembler. So students, procedures are nothing but subroutines. Subroutines which allows us to reduce the size of the program and to induce reusability in your implementation. Procedures, or we can say the chunk of code, subroutines or function, they group certain line of code which you can call again and again multiple times whenever it is needed in your logic. So this is how it reduces the size of the entire code, that is lines of code, and induces or assigns reusability to your code in order to make it more efficient to program. Now when you are implementing procedures in your assembly language program, you need to keep two things in mind. First is to define the procedure, and second is to how to call a procedure. Now let's see the syntax of defining the procedure. So a procedure is defined first using the name of the procedure. So a developer can give any user defined name for your procedure. After that, we use the double colon in order to give an entry point to the body of the procedure. From the next line, we enter the body of the procedure, that means the statements that we are going to execute under this procedure or the logic of this procedure. It is written next in the form of instructions. And always remember, your procedure always ends with an instruction which is RET instruction. RET is nothing but an return instruction which finally returns the output of the function or output of the procedure back to the previous instruction or back to the calling instruction or the instruction immediately after the calling instruction. So this is how we define procedures in your 8380. Now when we define a procedure, there has to be a method in which we can call that procedure. You can query that particular procedure. So let's see the syntax for calling that procedure. So to call any procedure, we are going to use a mnemonic or an opcode which is CALM, that is call. And as an operand, we are going to give the name of the procedure that we are going to or that we want to call in our program. So here, as you can see, this is how you define the procedure by giving it a name, then the sentences or the instruction, and finally ending it using the RET instruction. And this is how you call the procedure by using the opcode call and giving the operand as the name of the procedure so that it can be retrieved. So this is how you can implement and handle procedures in your 8386 using NASM. Now let's see a simple example to show how it is actually implemented. Now look, let's go student through this simple example which will tell us how we can implement our procedures in your assembly language. So this is a simple program in which we use a procedure to perform subtraction of two variables. So let's go through this program. As you can see in your data section, I have defined one initialized data and there is one uninitialized data. Uninitialized data, it is used to reserve or to hold the space for your final results. Now let's move on to our text section, or you can say the code section. So in code section, I have defined two variables. I have saved 5 value in our ECX register, and then using this statement, I have converted it into decimal. Similarly, I have saved 3 value in my EDX register and used this statement to convert it into decimal. After I have done defining the two variables or storing the content in your two register, I have called your sub procedure, which is done using the call opcode or call mnemonic, and your operand is the name of the procedure, which is sub. So when you execute this particular line, the control automatically goes to the sub procedure, which I have entered over here. So here what it does is that it moves the ECX value in EAX register, and then finally using the sub opcode, it subtracts the content of EDX from EAX register. And finally the output is saved in EAX, which is after the subtraction. And using this particular statement, we convert it into decimal format. After we get the decimal output, we execute this return instruction in your sub procedure. And when the return instruction is executed, the control automatically goes to the next line after the call instruction over here. So in this instruction, the output or the subtracted value which is saved in EAX, it is moved to your variable res, which we had defined in our data section. And then this code is used to display the final output to the user. So let's execute this code and we'll see how the output looks like. So I'm executing the code over here. Compiling it, executing it, running the file. So as you can see, students, finally the result is displayed and we have successfully implemented this simple program using the concept known as procedure. Alright, now let's move on to our next concept for this session, which is macros. Now students, macros is another feature which we use to reduce the size of the code and to increase the reusability. So it works just like your procedure. So this is another method in which you can perform the reusability or achieve the reusability in your code. So to implement macros in your assembly language programming, again you will have to keep two things in mind. First one is the definition, how you are going to define the macro in your program, and secondly how you are going to call the macro in your program. So let's go to the syntax of defining macros in your assembly language programming. So as you can see on the screen, student, this is how you define macros in your assembly language. It is given with the entry point which is percent sign and a mnemonic which is macro. It gives the entry point for your macro. After that we give the name for that macro which is user defined as given by the developer. And then we need to specify the number of parameters that we are going to use in this particular logic or executing this particular function. After we are done defining the number of parameters and the name of the macro, then we give the macro body, which are the statements or the instruction, or you can say the logic that you are going to actually implement under this macro. After the macro body structure, you need to end that particular macro. So to end the macro, we use again a syntax, which is a percent sign, and a mnemonic or a opcode, which is end macro. So this is how you define macros in our 8386 programming. It is given with an entry point. Entry point the syntax is percent sign with a mnemonic macro. So this gives the entry point to your macro structure. After that you are going to assign the name to the macro and then you need to provide the number of parameters that you are going to exploit in this macro. Next to that, you are going to enter the instructions or the body of the macro, that is the logic. And lastly, you are going to end the macro using the syntax, percent sign and a mnemonic end macro. This is how you define the macro. Now, to call the macro, again, there is a syntax in which you can call your macro or the logic inside the macro anywhere in the program. So to call the macro, the syntax is you need to call it using the name which is assigned to the macro and you need to specify the parameters which you are going to assign to that particular macro. So over here as I have given, first comes the name of the macro which is macro name and then comes individual parameters, that is parameter 1, parameter 2 and so on. So this is how you call a macro in your logic. Now let's see a simple example with which we can implement such macros in our programming. So students, this is a simple program with which we will try to implement macros in our 8386 assembly language program. So students, always when you are implementing the macro, you need to keep in mind that your macro has to be placed outside your text section or outside your code section in your assembly language program. Now this is a simple program where we try to calculate the summation of two variables using the feature called as macro. As you can see over here, this is how I have defined my macro in my code. You can see that it is placed outside the text section. I have given the entry point to the macro using the opcode which is percent macro. Then I have defined the name to the macro which is sum. And next I have defined the number of parameters that I am going to use in this macro which is 2. Now let's go to the logic. So in this logic here I am performing the simple summation as you can see. So I am taking the first parameter and I am moving it in the accumulator which is EAX register. Then I'm taking the second parameter and then adding it with the content of EAX register, which we calculated from the first statement. And finally, the result where it is saved in EAX register, it is converted into ASCII format so that we can finally display it. And I end my macro using the opcode, which is %sign end macro. So this is a simple syntax example in which how we can define a macro. Now when the program will be executed, it will start from the section.text. So this entry point of the logic and the execution is over here. So first it will define ECX register and EDX register. It will assign 4 to the ECX register and it will assign 5 value to the EDX register. And once it reaches to the 17th statement over here, here the macro is called. How the macro is called? Using the name of the macro, which is sum, and the operands are basically the parameters that I want to transmit to particular macro. So when this statement is executed, that is sum ECX comma EDX, where this is the name of the macro and ECX and EDX are the parameters in the macro, the control automatically goes in the macro section over here. And here the final addition is performed using the logic which is provided in the macro. Once the macro is executed and the summation or the addition value is calculated, when the end macro is executed, the control will go to the 19th statement where the value from the EAX register, that is the summation value, is transferred to the variable RES, which we had defined to contain our result, as you can see in your BSS section. And then these statements are used to display the summation that is calculated using this simple macro program. So students, now let's execute this. First, I'll try to explain it again to you all. Always remember, you need to define the macro outside your text section. I defined the macro using the macro entry point, which is %macro. Then I have given the name to my macro, which is sum, and I have defined the variables, that is the number of variables that I am going to use, which is 2 over here. After that, I have provided the macro body, which is nothing but the logic to perform the summation. Here %1 is the first parameter. It is transferred or moved in the EAX register. %2 is the second parameter which is added to the EAX register over here. And finally, the result which is stored in the EAX register is converted using this statement in the ASCII format to display to the user. So the execution will start from this particular entry point. It will assign 4 value to ECX register and 5 value to EDX register. After that, it will perform this particular statement, which is nothing but a call to the macro. So the call to the macro is given with the macro name, that is sum, as you can see. And I have passed the 2 parameters that I am going to use, which is the content of ECX register and content of EDX register. When this statement is executed by the microprocessor, the control grows in this macro section where the macro is executed and summation is calculated. Once the result is calculated, which is saved in the EAX register, the transfer goes to this particular section where the EAX register, that is the register which contains the final result of summation, its content is transferred to the result variable. And then finally, the output is displayed using this statement. So this is how we can implement macros. Now let's save this and we'll just execute the output and we'll see how it works. So I'm compiling and loading my macro program and finally executing it. So as you can see students, successfully it has calculated the sum using our macro feature. So this is how your macros are implemented. So students, today we have covered 3 main concepts in your 8386 programming, that is implementation of arrays, implementation of procedures and implementation of macros. If you have any difficulties in this concept, you can mail me. Thank you everyone.